All right, everybody, welcome to Studio B. I am your host, Pastor MDH. Thank you very much for joining us on the set today. We greatly appreciate your viewership and your followership. And remember, wherever you're watching us from, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, like, follow, comment, subscribe. Get the word out about Studio B. I'm going to start this podcast off like this. Oh, man, life is hilarious. It's not a laughing matter, but it is a laughing matter. I've had several conversations over the last 2 days, and I was not going to do this podcast, this particular subject on this podcast, but I've just been getting not inundated, but I got a lot of calls regarding a certain thing. So I decided to go ahead and do a little 30, 40-minute podcast on it to kind of bring us up to speed and enlighten some folk. You know, when I tell people that, you know, oftentimes people who impact the world are not celebrated until they die. Like some of the views that they hold when they are alive are ridiculed, are, you know, called crazy. They're called senile. They don't get it, X, Y, and Z. And then years and decades and even centuries pass. And then people are able to reflect on some of the things that they said and be like, they were right. I have long said, why in the world are African Americans as gullible as sometimes we can be? Like, why are we always the butt of the joke? It's really, especially when you're looking at our history. And it's just, and I've said on this podcast many times before, even when I took the kids on the civil rights tour, I believe that our history is going to be obsolete within 2 more generations. Because people just don't know about African American history. They have no idea other than the 28 days of history that they get in Black History Month in school. But no further research is done. Some of the pioneers and some of the greatest African Americans that have ever stepped foot on this earth will long be forgotten within the next 2 generations. Especially because the parents are not passing down that knowledge to the kids, and the kids don't want to necessarily hear it anyway, more concerned about likes and stuff on TikTok and the such. But our history is going to be gone within 2 generations. There's a movie right now called The Woman King. And I said to a good friend of mine just yesterday, no Black person should ever go and watch that movie. If you went to go watch that movie, shame on you. If you're Black, you have no, the mere fact that a movie like that is propagated and publicized and have made $19 million since September the 16th is ridiculous to me. The idea of this, that the Woman King is somehow to be celebrated among African Americans. So the gist of the movie is that this all-woman regiment, the Dehomey tribe, or what they call the Dehomey Amazons, are driving out the white colonizers from their country that have come in to decimate their land. So this all-female group of Amazon warriors have now coincided and have built an alliance and are driving white colonizers out of their hometown. Nothing could be further from the truth. Do you know that the Dehomey tribe is directly responsible for 444,000 African slaves being took to the Americas during the Transatlantic slave trade? That 1 out of every 20 slaves that hit the Americas was captured and sold by the Dehomey tribe. Black people enslaving other Black people. This group of Dahomeys were some of the most evil, let me just say it the way I want to say it, the most demonic people on the face of the earth. They were absolutely brutal. They would go into tribes, slaughter all of the elderly, removed their jawbones. So you would have elderly people walking around the tribes, around the tribal areas, missing their jawbones, blood gushing from everywhere, screaming at the top of their lungs. They would kill off all of the elderly and take all the women and the children. And then they would sell those black people to colonizers, to the white colonizers, which is how the Dehomey kingdom got all of its money during the 1600s all the way until 1904. But people are flocking, black folks are flocking into movie theaters, saying that this is the greatest thing since Kunta Kinte, when this is absolutely not true. They're not driving out white colonizers. They was walking hand in hand with white colonizers, decimating their own people, selling their own people for money, for land, and for weapons, mainly with the French and the Portuguese. And for those who don't know about the transatlantic slave trade, Portuguese started this in 1602, but they relied heavily on black people to go get slaves. And here we are, 2022, where we are flocking to the movie theater to celebrate this erroneous history that has completely rewritten history. But guess who paid for the movie? White liberals. Guess who created the movie? White liberals. But guess who are playing the parts? Black people. Like the idea that you can't open, the crazy thing about this is Viola Davis, whom I love, who's a great actress, said that they had to go and take karate classes 4 days a week. They had to work out and do cardio 2 hours a day, that the preparation for this particular role was some of the most arduous thing that she's ever done in her life. And as I'm sitting there listening to her, I'm asking myself, you didn't bother to pick up a book before you went and played the leader of this all-female warrior group called the Dehomey Amazons, which is in Benin right now, west of Nigeria? Now, time is going to fail me to give you the whole story, but they came and took over the western part of Africa, which put them right there on the Atlantic. Right there on the Atlantic. So the territory that they had took over, which was about 42 square miles, was right there on the coast of the Atlantic. So it made their territory a perfect port for importing and exporting slaves. Black people enslaved almost 500,000 other black folks. The number cannot even be fathomed about the number of people that they killed. But we're flocking. Now here's why I say this. Because we're so quick to blame the white man for everything that's going wrong in the black culture. We're so quick to point racism here, racism there, racism there. Man, this systematic, this, and that. Man, what are you talking about? You thought that this was a good idea to put this movie out there as if people can't read? Now, immediately when I saw this trailer 2 months ago, I'm like, now I've been to Africa. Africa is almost my second home. I know a lot about Africa. I love Africa. Africa is in the seat of the Bible. I mean, there is no Bible without Africa. I mean, make no mistake about it. There is no Bible without Africa. There is no Abraham without Africa. There is no Moses without Africa. There is no Jesus without Africa. Africa plays a central role in the unfolding of biblical history. It's terribly important. So I know a lot about Africa. So when I saw this trailer 2 months ago, I'm like, what? You can't be talking about the Dehomey tribe, the most infamous demonic female regiment to ever walk the face of the earth. Now, the Dehomey did not just have all women soldiers. About a third of the army were female soldiers, but the female soldiers were 10 times more brutal than the men. They used the female soldiers to go out and hunt elephants and lions. The female soldiers were the regiment of the King's Guard. They were absolutely brutal. And so when I saw this trailer and Viola Davis, I'm saying, now that can't be the same tribe. There's no way. There's no way that we are now glorifying the Dehomey tribe. There's no way. But in fact, it is. This particular tribe, historians estimated that nearly 1 million. Now, the specific number, when you start talking about from the Dehomey tribe lands to the Americas, is 444,000. That's a documented number. Some historians estimate that number to be almost 1 million slaves. And as I've told you many times before, many people talk about America and this and that. And listen, I told y'all America was the last one to get into the slave market and the first one to get out. Less than 10% of all the slaves that came from Africa came to the Americas. 40% of all the slaves that came from Africa went to Brazil, went to Mexico, went to Portugal. We got less than 10% of the slaves here in America. We were the last ones into the slave trade, but the first ones out of the slave trade. So when we start talking about history and what this stuff has done to us, we need to be aware of this. So the movie is about in 1800, a group of all-female warriors that protect the African kingdom of Dehomey with skills and fierceness unlike anything that the world has ever seen. Faced with a new threat, General Nasika, now that's an actual lady, trains the next generation of recruits to fight against the foreign enemy that is determined to destroy their way of life. Black people fighting against the white colonizers. That's the movie. I sent my family a text, Team Holman a text, and I said, nobody in my family is going to see this movie. Now, my son just called me when I was walking in here because I sent that text this morning. And he said, well, tell me what the text was about. I say, son, after I do that, I'm going to call you and let you know. But here it is. Black people are fighting against the man. When actually the villain in this story is black people enslaving other black people. Nobody wants to talk about that because everything wrong in your life is because of what white people are doing to you. Everything. The reason why you can't get a leg up is because everybody keeps holding you down, changing the narrative to your own benefit. The Dehomey tribe is a tribe of absolute fierce women that went to enslave other black people. They would plummet villages. The death toll, matter of fact, one account by Walker Herbert says this, that when they left one village, the blood of that village went up to their ankles. After they decimated everybody in the village, the blood of that village went up to their ankles. But here it is, a movie that celebrates and says, no, this group of women warriors is fighting against the white colonizers because we got to fight against white people, because if we don't fight against white people, we ain't gonna never get what we deserve. The facts do not coincide with this at all. And everybody just pick up a book. Dehomey. Dehomey, Dehomey, Dehomey tribe, or what they're typically called the Dehomey Amazons. Right next to modern day Nigeria, on the west of Africa, right there next to the Atlantic. Now, Dehomey became an adversary to the British Empire now watch this. They became an adversary to the British Empire after the abolition of slavery. When slavery was outlawed and the transatlantic slave trade was cut off, the Dehomey tribe, or the Dehomey Amazon, said, oh, no, you're not cutting off this slave trade. Oh, no. So they went to war against Britain to keep the slave trade in action. So Britain sends a delegation to the Dehomey tribe to get in an effort to convince King Gizo to abolish human sacrifice and slave trading, because they did not want to abide by the abolition of slave trades, because they were making such money off of black people. But man, we don't want to have conversations like this. Like the real conversations that we need to have, we don't have, because we lie and we lie and we lie and we lie, and people don't want to know the truth because the truth hits you in your face and it makes you have to deal with it. So people just don't want to deal with it. Like, why would any black person go and support this? Why would any black person with 2 brain cells, knowing the history of what this thing is really about, go and support this movie to the tune of $19 million in 5 days? It's what the Bible says, because my people perish because of a lack of knowledge. They perish because of a lack of knowledge. So when I sit there and say Black Lives is a bunch of BS, why do we think that Black Lives Matter should matter to other people when they don't even matter to us? When they don't even matter to us, when we're killing black babies in the womb to the tune of almost 1 million a year. We're killing black babies in the womb, but yet we're going around talking about Black Lives Matter. We're saying that the system is holding us back, this, that, and the other. But there are, since 1973, 44 million babies have been aborted. Beautiful possibilities that will never blossom into anything, because their lives were snuffed out. We have a murder rate amongst black folks that is unequivocal to anything that a cop would do to a black man. To what when a cop kills a black man, watch this number. Go and look at it at FBI.gov. The number is 216 to 1. So for every black man that a cop kills, there's 216 other black men that were killed by other black men. But all we want to talk about is when the cop kills somebody. You go out there and celebrate these rappers when they put all this violence, misogyny, sexual activity in their songs. You give them awards. You give them millions and millions and millions of dollars to people that denigrate your community. And then you want to sit on top of a hill talking about we matter. That's crazy. So when are we going to get to the point to where we say, hold on, enough is enough. Enough is enough. Enough is enough. Name me one other people group that does this. Name me one of them. Show me how the Hispanics do it. Show me how the Hispanics denigrate their own community. Show me how Jews denigrate their own community. Show me how Asians denigrate their own community. Show me how Caucasians denigrate their own community. Listen, if you are a Jew, Jews ain't standing for that. If you are Asian, they're not standing for that. We are the only people that celebrate the denigration of our own culture. So we dropping it like it's hot. We're out there half naked. We're shaking it on every single turn. Videos this, videos that. We celebrate everything that is bad within our culture and then try to push that off as the experience of Black America. This is just another example of it. And behind this is white liberals. Because just as Malcolm X said, the greatest way to destroy your people is to keep the people fighting amongst themselves. The KKK is not needed because we got black gangs. There's no need for the KKK to go around and lynch people anymore. We shooting them in the streets. We shooting ourselves in the streets. Her name is it's a funny, it's I want to say Diana, but it's not pronounced like that. But in Chicago last week, I'm gonna call her Diana. Please forgive me. That's not how you pronounce her name. It's spelled similar to it. But little Diana was a 6-month-old baby that was shot in the face purposely by a gang member in retaliation to her father. Nobody said nothing. A black man goes up and shoots a 6-month-old girl, little baby, in her face, trying to get revenge on her father. Why do you need the KKK? This was celebrating slavery. The very same thing that everybody keep talking about is what's wrong. We're celebrating that stuff. Everybody, this is in your history books. You can find this stuff out yourself. You don't need me to tell you this. You can find this out for you if you paid any attention in history class. You can find this stuff out for yourself. Like, it's there. It's not hidden from you. Like, this is crazy when we're sitting here going with the woman king. And I'm not going to even talk about the woman king and what that means in regards to the man. That's a whole nother story. But it's not infuriating. I don't want to use words that are. I don't want to use words that are. I mean, I want to try to pick my words very carefully. To those who can see, I got my notes here. I'm not going off the dome here, okay? I don't want to say that I'm infuriated by it. Disappointed is more of a word. Like this, you're living in 2022 where information is literally at your fingertips. Now, I do have an issue with those who Google everything. I think that deep diving and research should be a part of your regiment and not just, cutting across the field and Googling something and hitting on the first search option. But I do believe that Google is a valuable asset to understand what's going on. Like it's quicker than the encyclopedia, quicker than going to the library X, Y, and Z or reading a 500-page book. I get that. But this information is available to all. To all. Like it's an utter lie. What? And I guarantee you, this is going to be up for an Academy Award. She's going to get celebrated for this. This movie is going to be celebrated. It's going to be celebrated at the highest heights. Look at what African Americans have done. She just came out just day before yesterday and said, if you don't go support this movie, then you are unconsciously cementing the rule of systemic racism because it's an all-black cast. That's what Viola Davis said. That if I don't go see this movie, then unconsciously what I'm doing is cementing systematic racism and white supremacy. That's what she said. Are you kidding? The Dehomey tribe. Man, everybody, when you do your research on this particular tribe, and when you do your research on Africa, just in general, when I say that Africa is absolutely essential to the unfolding of biblical history. We know that in Acts chapter number 8, that the first missionary was an African man, an Ethiopian man. Ethiopia and Liberia were the only two countries in Africa that have never been colonized. Ethiopia is one of the places where we have the oldest findings of Christianity. So to everybody that said that, Christianity is a white man religion and, the colonizers came over to Africa and forced Christianity upon their people, you got to explain to me Liberia and Ethiopia because they were never colonized. But yet Ethiopia has some of the richest history in Christianity that has ever been found on the face of the planet. The Ethiopian Christians, even to this day, are some of the most powerful Christians that are on the planet. Africa is a country that is rich in history. Everybody's talking about, Miss Queen Elizabeth and her dying, Queen Elizabeth II, during her 70-year reign. I think she died at like 92, 93. By time when she came into power 70 years ago, she had 96 countries under her wing. When she died, she only had 15. One of those countries was Ghana, Kenya, Mozambique, United Arab Emirates. All of those were under British rule. People start breaking away from Britain during her reign as queen. People celebrate it. I'm not such one that celebrates Queen Elizabeth because I know how she decimated the natural resources of Africa. And how she took all of the gold and the precious metals out of especially Kenya in Eastern Africa and took all that stuff over there to Britain. God bless the dead, praise God, all that other good stuff. But see, I know what that woman did to the efforts of Africa. So when you're looking at Africa, Africa is a very, very rich place. I would even dare say, I think I have quite enough proof to prove this, that the Garden of Eden was in Africa. The origin of man, the origin of the species was right there in Africa. Africa is steeped in history. But our people don't understand their homeland. Like they have no idea. They know about American history as it relates to the African American, but they don't know about their history. So when I see stuff like this, the woman king, and knowing the real story behind the woman king, why would any black person go sit in a movie theater for 2 hours and give yo $50 to this stuff? Like, you're celebrating. There's more than likely one of your ancestors was captured by the Dehomey Amazons. One of your ancestors that was brought over here involuntarily was captured by the Dehomey Amazons. But yet we go and celebrate them. I just think that it's time for people to wake up. Wake up, man. Listen, wake up. I'm not going to go off on some diatribe. I'll just end with this because I didn't want it to be elongated today. But my people perish for a lack of knowledge. What you don't know does hurt you. Now, you can choose to live in your own particular world apart from that is your business. But what you don't know can hurt you. It forces me, when I see such blatant efforts like this to further divide people into segments of populations. This is intentional. The lie is intentional. The spin is intentional. And it is meant to propagate hate, when obviously that's not true. Now, again, oldie but goodie. Maybe truth don't even matter anymore. Maybe it just, whatever. Maybe we're just in that space to where truth don't matter anymore. And to those who say, man, it's just entertainment. No, this is more. If you listen to the people that are on this movie, the actresses, the director, the producer, this is more of a documentary than it is entertainment. They're posing this as fact. There are some elements to it that are fact. The general, who is played by, what's her name? Viola Davis. Miss General, she is Nansinki. She is an actual figure from the Dehomey tribe, or the Dehomey Amazons. That is fact. They did take over Western Africa, which provided them a port to the Atlantic. That is true. But everybody just go grab a history book and you'll see that one tribe, which had several thousand people in the army, but one tribe is directly responsible for 444,000 African slaves being sold to white colonizers during the transatlantic slave trade that started in 1604 and ended in 1850. These people, some would even put it as high as 1 million. Untold numbers about the people that they killed. But as I said last week, why can't we have real conversations in regards to African Americans in this culture, without everything being pointed to racism? Racism is not your biggest problem. You are. Racism is not your biggest problem. There's a young lady, bless her heart, that came into my office yesterday. And this young lady, I'm sure she's not watching, so I won't give you any names, just some real vague details. She came into my office with a light bill that she needed to pay. Mid-100s. And as I began to share with her, as we have a team going to Africa today, they're leaving today to go to Africa. I said, there are people around this world that would give all the limbs that they have to have your problems. Your problems here in America, the things that keep you up at night. Like the things that keep you up, like the things that keep you on social media, wearing out your thumbs. The things that keep us up in the Americas, everybody from other places, third world countries that we've been to, would trade everything for your problems. Facts. Like you come in here and you say, I need this. You come into a building where in America, no matter what kind of problem you got, there is assistance, there is utility assistance, there's rental assistance. Even if you get your car repossessed, I can point you to people that can help you get your car back in the Americas. But there are people that are around this world who go through so much more than any American, which is crazy. And we have the audacity to complain and tell other people, you're the reason why I'm not here. No, you are the reason you're not here. That's your fault. It's your fault if you didn't go back to school and you wanted to go back to school. It's your fault if you don't have enough money. Get a second and third job. I slung papers out of my Mustang for almost 9 months in 2003. Right there over there next to the Summit where the Lakewood is, right there in Greenbrier. At 2:00 in the morning while my wife was at home asleep. We had to do what we had to do. Didn't have no time to sit around and cry about it. Didn't have no time to sit around there and cry on somebody's shoulder about what I was going through. No, here's where I'm at. How do I get out of this place? Let's make a plan and let's get it done. But we can't have conversations like this. If you go see the movie, God bless you. Like I said, Viola Davis is I think she's a great actress. She starred in some really good films that I really appreciated. But this one right here, can't get on board with that one, Miss Davis. God bless you and all of the training that you had to go through in order to do this. But it's a no-go for me. And I just came on here just to say, you know what? And again, I wasn't going to do this. But the obvious attempt to spin history to further a divide is not right. That's not right. So let me just give you this as I leave. The West African country of Dahomey was changed its name to the People's Republic of Benin. Benin is right outside of Nigeria. It is 33 in the African country list. It is the least industrialized country of all of Africa. And that happened on December the 1st, 1975. So this Dehomey tribe or Dehomey territory is now called the People's Republic of Benin in Africa, which, by the way, Benin right now has a 12-to-1 woman to man ratio. 12-to-1 in Benin right now, 12-to-1. I didn't say that in Benin because the Dehomey tribe would often kill off men after they mated. So there's going to be a whole lot more women in Benin form of Dehomey than they are men. So everybody, that's why I started off with a laugh, because you got to laugh to keep yourself from crying. Let's stay diligent. Let's stay diligent. Your life is your life. Your choice is your choice. Your money is your money. You do with all as you see fit. As you see fit, you do what you need to do. But everybody, I want to thank you for joining us here on the set of Studio B. Remember, I need you to like, follow, and subscribe. Comment. Get all in those comments, man. Get all in those comments. Thank you for the 12,000 subscribers that are now part of Studio B. We greatly appreciate that on our YouTube channel and our Instagram channel as well, or our Instagram page, excuse me, as well. And remember, seats are available. I am trying my best, as I told you last week, to get Pastor Josh up here. I'm making some great leeway. I desperately want you to hear this man's perspective, as he is one of the guys that I greatly admire and his thinking process. We don't agree on everything, but I love his careful consideration to the topics that are discussed. It is a breath of fresh air in a very emotional environment. So I'm trying to get him on, trying to line up our schedules. So just be praying for Pastor Josh out there out of League City. Shout out to you, Josh, man. I know we're working on it, and by God's grace, we will get that done. But everybody remember, be informed, be empowered. When you are informed, you are empowered. Studio B.